Alright, so you may remember this from, no, you won't. Anyways, the Arch Linux Discord has imploded, so you might be looking for a new place to talk about Arch Linux, right? I'm having to use a new recording setup because the filters somebody gave me just were not working, and I've had to delete like half my videos that I put on this channel recently. So this time I'm actually going to listen to what I've recorded and make sure it's correct before it goes up because I'm getting kind of sick and tired of this. So right now I'm just using microphone gain and noise suppression, and that's it, and that should eliminate any of the artifacting and like popping and shit that I'm getting, because people keep telling me I'm having audio problems, and things were a lot simpler before I started using filters on OBS, so I'm gonna go back to not using filters. Anyways, you may have seen this argument before. I don't know if it's gonna show up correctly on my screen. I couldn't get OBS to work correctly and transform this box. But basically, somebody was asking, should I switch to Arch Linux from Windows? And of course the answer to that is no. Anybody will tell you that, don't switch to Arch Linux from Windows. But because this is the Arch Linux Discord, you know, the people give them the usual, oh, you should manually install Arch and not use Arch install. Because there's this fallacy that Arch Linux users have where they think if you copy and paste some commands from a wiki that you suddenly know how Linux works, and that's just not the case. It's never been the case. I've never found it to be any benefit to anybody to actually manually install their distribution so that they can debug anything. They always have the same fucking problems. And like, maybe you may have picked up what an FS tab does. Maybe, probably not. Maybe you picked up, oh, my bootloader is broken. I remember from the install guide that I had to install a bootloader, so I can probably fix that by rooting back into the back into my drive and fixing it manually. No, nobody fucking thinks that. You still got to be walked through it, same as anything. But Arch Linux users, remember, have this very elitist mentality that if you don't understand Linux, maybe it's not for you and you should just go back to Windows. So you get this usual argument that it's like, not only do you want to install Arch, but you also want to manually install Arch, which for a novice user is just, why would you do that when they've never used Linux before? Because, like, obviously you would recommend something like CachyOS. You wouldn't recommend freaking you wouldn't recommend stock Arch to somebody, especially when the install guide only actually gets you to a TTY, and then you're expected to figure out what Xorg is, what Wayland is, how to install a display server, how to launch a desktop environment, what a display manager is, what user groups are, what your network manager should be, what audio server you should be using. This is all stuff that they're expecting a novice user to figure out. That's just kind of a shitty idea. Like, no, recommend them something where they will have an easier time using Linux than freaking manually installing Arch. That's such a horrible idea. And it's based on just logical fallacies or whatever, you know, bad information, bad ideas, never helped anybody in the entire history of forever. So if you ever see an Arch user that's like, oh yeah, just if you're new to Arch, just freaking manually install it, just ignore them. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They think they do because they see the installation as kind of like Gentoo's, but it's nothing like Gentoo's installation. Gentoo's handbook explains everything in detail about why everything works the way it does, you know? And even then, once you're actually in Gentoo, the issues you have probably aren't related to your install. But with Arch, I mean, you're really just copy and pasting a few commands from a single page, you know? You're not learning jack shit from it, other than why does this install take forever? And that's really about it. Thanks.